Good evening. Very excited to be here. Thank you so much. I remember this day like it was yesterday. Guess what year this is? Very, very close, 1980. That's me in the bottom left corner. I'm 10 years old, and this is the first time I got to pick out my own suit. Terribly excited. The thing I noticed most about this photograph, though, is I'm not wearing my glasses. What's significant about that is glasses was a significant part of my childhood. It's what defined me. It's what set me apart from everyone else in my family and everyone else in class. I used to sit in the back of the class in second grade, and I remember when I found out I had to wear glasses. I used to sit in the back because it was easy to talk, something I love to do. Mrs. Evans, this is Madison Academy in Huntsville, Alabama. Mrs. Evans, my teacher, realized that I couldn't see the board from the back of the class, and so she had my dad take me to get a prescription, and so I ended up with glasses. So much for talking. Glasses made me feel small, almost handicapped. But there was one person who could make glasses look cool, and that was my dad. Glasses were a part of his uniform. He was an engineer. Actually, he was the first black engineer that NASA hired back in the day. He needed a master's degree in order to be an engineer, and the HBCU, the historically black college and university in Huntsville, Alabama, Alabama A&M, go Bulldogs, incredible institution, but they didn't have an engineering program, so he had to integrate the University of Alabama. Now, when most people think of Alabama, you think Crimson Tide. You think Nick Saban. But back then, Alabama had a different face. George Wallace, who famously says, segregation now, segregation tomorrow, segregation forever. And this wasn't just rhetoric. This was trouble. So, the day after Medgar Evers was assassinated in Jackson, Mississippi, my father integrated the University of Alabama in Huntsville. Dad wanted all of us to be engineers. I was the only one who took him up on it. Engineering was a window to the future. I was really excited to be an engineer, and until I discovered engineering, I was so desperate to get out of the state of Alabama. Auburn University, the loveliest village on the plains. The other thing I learned from my dad was there was a way in which he used his engineering degree to create possibilities for other people. So I did the same thing and ended up going to Howard University School of Law. What I discovered at Howard University was there is a bias that obstructs our vision, obstructs our lens, like driving in a storm with broken wipers. But you know what? It really didn't matter where I went, whether I was in Alabama, whether I was clerking for a judge in DC, practicing law in New York, or teaching at Boston College. The trouble of Alabama was always there. And just as I was about to gain my father's approval and earn his love, my dad died. And the grief was immense. Some say grief is love with no place to go, and that's exactly how I felt. I was lost. I spiraled, I became chronically ill, and almost died. But it wasn't a broken heart I almost died from. It was a lack of vision. And then something happened. One of the hymns my dad used to sing while he was getting ready for church came back to me. Tempted and tried, we're oft made to wonder why it should be thus all the day long, while there are others living about us, never molested, though in the wrong. I should have been able to sing that song when Dad died, but I couldn't. But what I was able to do was change my lens. From seeking approval to acceptance, from controller to composer, from hapless to hero, from performer to personhood. Accepting that everybody had the right to be just who they were. And not focusing on changing the world, but instead on changing myself. And realizing that there's no greater lens than love. Love is commitment, not just lip service. Love is work, not just good intentions. Love is lifelong and it's every day. Even from the mountaintop, the vision of the day when our children are judged by the content of their character and not the color of their skin, that vision, as powerful as it was, those aren't fighting words. That's a love language. And so I got it. I could see it for myself. A love that stays with me, just like my contact lenses, right? And I realized that there's nothing that has ever happened to me or ever will happen to me that can change my destiny. I started writing books about the hero's journey. I got so excited I could see it for myself. But my favorite place to experience love was on my yoga mat. It wasn't a love for everything. It was a love first for myself and my wellness. This love was grounded, it was focused, and it was centered. So now I work with individuals who are struggling to find possibility in the middle of crisis. I partner with healthcare providers who specialize in chronic conditions. When you're trying to get a good legislation passed or trying to get improper legislation overturned, you realize what you have to do is collaborate. You have to try to get people who you disagree with to see through a different lens and realize that not everything that is faced can be changed, as Baldwin says. But nothing can be changed until it is faced. So I experiment. I start with inspiration. I try to get people who disagree with me to see the possibilities. And then I may try my second lens, engineering, to try to get them to see that even in the midst of complex situations, there's always a simple answer. I may even try gospel music. Perhaps the key will be looking for and finding hope even in the midst of crisis. But my favorite lens is love. Love never fails. There's trouble all around us at all times. We could choose to focus on how difficult life has become. But if we look deep enough through the lens of love, we'll see that even in the midst of our greatest challenge, there's opportunity. And that if we work together, if we collaborate, we'll discover that anything and everything is possible. Thank you so much.